Thank you all for letting us know where you're joining us from tonight. We appreciate that, and we love to see where teachers are working and what they're doing. So thank you very much. My name is Lisa Bender. I'm an education specialist and marketing specialist with Take Charge Today and a former classroom teacher from Maryland. So here's our agenda for this evening. We are going to just briefly talk to you and share with you a little bit about our program and why we're here, our mission for financial education. Let you see the website and just get you familiar with a few things. But one of the most important is to be able to walk you through one lesson with all of our elements to show you some examples of helping teach financial education to all of you. And we have a prize for somebody here tonight, so we're not sure yet who will win, but we'll see. So our mission from Take Charge Today, which is a program located at the Freedom Center on the campus of the University of Arizona, based in Tucson, is to provide folks like you, educators, but we expand that to include people who facilitate lessons in, let's say, Tiff, do I need to add anybody?
Nope, you're good.
Okay, so back to our mission. People who are facilitators, like people who do after school activities, 4-H groups, Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, people who work with military families, and that we're all part of this mission to help make financial literacy come alive to people in across the nation. And the founding idea was to create a financial education outreach program to help people, to help strengthen teachers so they can enable their students to become financially capable when they become young adults. And here's the staff, and we're all three with us, with all of you today. Tiffany is our program or project manager, and Robin works with me. We're both former classroom teachers, and we write curriculum and update curriculum and try and find out as many great ideas for all of you for teaching financial education that we can, because we're all of us are committed to making sure that we give a good product and help you as best we can as former teachers. Take Charge Today's core principles are based on 4 things. You are responsible for yourself. Investing helps you cope with risk and uncertainty. That includes investing in yourself with extended education, extending your skill sets, etc. You are better off in a community than by yourself, and your present self, what you do today, impacts your future self. Our educated-oriented principles and how we write the curriculum, we write it so that it's turnkey and ready for all of you in the classroom on the front lines to implement these lessons. We use teacher language, teacher speak, as we write these lessons, and we have them tested in the classroom before they go public. They are activity-based in order to help engage the learners that are in your classroom. And just like tonight, we're providing ongoing professional development to keep pace with these changes and keep you all connected. Here's an example of one of our cover pages for a lesson. Each lesson that we have starts with a cover page of a visual idea of what you can get out of a lesson and what your students can do out of a lesson. So each lesson plan, we include things like any materials or supplies you might need, a variety of options for assessments, note-taking guides that help students focus on what is supposed to be how to answer the most essential questions and get content from each lesson. And of course, the teacher is, once they make an account, they have access to all of these instructions, all of these additional items, such as answer keys, PowerPoints, and all of that. And now that we're starting to ease back into face-to-face lectures and face-to-face workshops and conferences, we're very excited that we can go on site. Robin, in fact, is going up in Arizona here this weekend in the Phoenix area to deliver some lessons about taxes and other things at a conference that she's attending. So we're excited that we can be back in person, but we also know that Zoom allows us to do something very relevant for connecting and interacting and sharing what we're doing. If you're new to Take Charge today, we have 8 different units of study that have themes within them. If you are lucky enough to be able to have the time to implement an entire course, we suggest that this would be the best flow or sequence to do with your students. But we're so nimble and flexible as a curriculum that we have many, many teachers drop in and drag out what they want to use out of any of our themed units of study. So we want you to know that as educators, we are committed to the idea of make it your own. Find what works best for you, your teaching practice, and your students. And if that means dipping in and finding a dynamic lesson on earning and not using any of the rest of our units, that's okay. The 5 elements of a Take Charge Today lesson: the hook and vocabulary to start, the hook to pique their interest or tap into that background knowledge that they might have of a subject. And we give you different options to typically use as a hook at the beginning, and also vocabulary at the beginning, and making it intentional, because many times, especially thinking about a lesson on credit, a lesson on saving, a lesson on investing, the students, young people that you have now, they're going to hear some of those terms like APR and 401k and Roth IRA and things like that as they enter the workforce down the road. So we feel very strongly about ways and options and strategies we give you to teach and expose students to vocabulary. The content facilitation includes a PowerPoint or an information sheet and note-taking guide to help share the most important information and essential information from a specific lesson. We also include in a lesson several ways to wrap it up, conclude, review what they've just learned, and then, of course, assessment, different ways. We don't always have to do a paper or pencil multiple choice test. We have those available for each lesson and each unit of study, but we also give you unique ways and ideas for conducting an assessment. Down below, you see icons related to other things that we share with our curriculum and our program. We're on social media, so we're posting on Facebook and Twitter a lot of times about upcoming events, places where we'll be, articles and videos and news items that relate to our lesson plans. So we invite you to follow us on those platforms. We offer standards and crosswalks related to national standards for financial literacy. We offer external resource ideas, and our active learning tools are one of the most popular aspects of our lessons. We're also compatible with Google Classroom, and many teachers have taken us into their Canvas and Moodle and other learning management systems. And as I was mentioning, the active learning tools, so many different ways to engage students, from doing a thing on with jelly beans and looking at compound interest, to doing chapter book studies with your students, movie lesson plans, online games that we've created just for our lessons, and so forth. So why don't I just take you briefly to the Take Charge Today website so you can take a look. Now, our program is a program where teachers create, or educators create, a user account. Students are not the ones going to Take Charge Today and making an account. You are the facilitator, and you would decide what information you're going to disseminate out to your students. Let's take a look. All right, so if I were to open up and go to takechargetoday.arizona.edu, I would first create an account. And once I have created an account, an email will be sent to your inbox. You'll approve that, and then you'll have access, just like myself, Rob and Tiffany, and all the other 30,000 some, 45,000 some teachers that have accessed Take Charge Today. And you would log in after you have your approved account. And this is our homepage. You can see we have different tabs, curriculum. If you have questions about, maybe you only have 2 weeks or 9 weeks for putting together some lessons, we've thought about what are the most essential lessons you might want to cover in a short amount of time. But we also share there a flow and sequence of different things. So let's take a quick look. You can see here, introductory level. What we tend to think of is geared toward middle grades. Some states have, and districts have, middle grades from 6, 7, and 8. Some have it from 7, 8, and 9. It's geared toward whatever your middle grades are used. Advanced level would be 9 through 12, 10 through 12, and even we have some colleges using our curriculum to help with financial literacy training. And you can see, if you were interested in an Intuit simulation, or you wanted to search a lesson plan, you have these drop-down categories for you. Another important thing I want to point out to you, professional development. This webinar that we're attending tonight will be archived, and you can access this and any other previous webinars that we've done this school year or in other school years are all available to you. We also have a nice growing library that you can go here and you can watch some master teachers do some projects and active learning tools and explain that while the students are working. So some of these things might be of interest to you as you begin to utilize some of our curriculum products. Go back. If you wanted to search for a particular lesson, let's say you know that I'm going to be teaching saving, and somebody posted on Facebook that Take Charge Today has a really good lesson called Savings Tools. If you know the exact name, you could type it in there. And we also, since you picked the topic of saving, we also have other things on here that are available to you. Now, the savings tool lesson, you can see we have access to different things you might want to pull out. But let's go ahead and just take a look at how we would look at this one lesson on our webpage. Here's a summary. Here's lesson objectives. Here's the materials you would download for this lesson. The lesson plan and information sheet is the heart of the lesson that we share with teachers. It has talking points for your PowerPoint. It has worksheets. It has suggested each of those 5 elements. It has access to student workbook pages that you would download as a zip folder into your own teacher materials, and then you can disseminate those out to students, and these would be fillable worksheets that students can actually type into. You can also, of course, print out any of our materials and hand them over to students if you want them to do things with paper and pencil. Our answer keys are included. Let's take a look here quickly. Yep, there it is. There's the cover page. The first thing that pops up for a lesson, and reasons why this topic is important, suggested teaching tools that we suggest for you, other things that students will be doing, but it's not a complete aspect until you get into the lesson and see all the different things that are available to you. And then we have a place for teacher notes where you can type in or write in what you did, what you liked, what you might want to do differently next time, because we know that's important, that teacher reflection aspect of a lesson. And then here is the recommended grade level, what we assume would take the time to do this lesson. Here's your objectives. Here's materials required if you're going to do any or all of the active learning tools with this lesson. External resources. Here's a thing that would be what you would link to outside of our Take Charge Today curriculum. And here's the lesson facilitation. Here's our vocabulary activity, making that intentional. Here's an activity for doing what we call a brain trust. Here's another anticipatory set, saving for a rainy day, using idioms to teach and think about learning and saving. Here's our recommended facilitations. This is what I called the heart and soul of each lesson. This is where your talking points come from for each lesson. Slide 1, slide 2. Here's some things. Over here, you'll see some teacher tips that we have collated and put out for you as you're teaching a lesson. So anything in the gray bodied area, know that that's just something that, hey, this is something we thought about. Maybe this will be good for you too. Here's a conclusion option, 4 of a kind. And it says, hey, we've got a teacher demonstrating this on our Take Charge Today website video classroom. You might want to take a look. Which savings tools would you use? Another option for concluding and reviewing. The Mint simulation that we worked with Intuit to create and build out on their platform using Mint, and how you can get to that. Reinforcement worksheet could be used as an assessment option, a short kind of quiz with matching, multiple choice, open, extended questions. Letter to Jane. Savings tools vocabulary. There's our list. Here's an example of a note-taking guide that you would either share through a learning management system with your students, or you could print those out, have them work individually, have them work separately, have them work in small groups, have them work with a shoulder partner to complete this. You complete this note-taking guide from the information shared either through a PowerPoint or a information sheet that's included. Both of those are included with each lesson. You, the teacher, could take the PowerPoint and share that and teach through whole class instruction, or you could choose to push that out through the learning management site, and the students could go through the PowerPoint at their own pace. Or you could print out and pass or share digitally the information sheet that has the same type of content that you would find in the PowerPoint. They mirror each other. One activity in this particular lesson is called Four of a Kind. These are the instructions. This is what you would need to print out to conduct this lesson. And it's almost like a game. I would call it more of a game. And it's very fun, great for small groups to get involved with this. And you would print these out and cut these up and give them to each group. You might even want to laminate it if you have access to a laminating machine to help you. You could print them out and put them on index cards, or you could put them on playing cards. Here's the answer key that you, the teacher, would have access to. Here's an activity for students planning a presentation about savings tools. That's one of the conclusion options. Here's a rubric we give you to grade if your students are going to do a presentation on this topic. Here's another activity that's explained in the teacher directions. Which savings tool would you use? Lots of fun with this activity. Real life, bringing it down to, financial decision-making levels, and giving us a small case study to, your 6 groups of students. How would they use savings to help these people with their savings challenge? Here's an example of a reinforcement sheet that you could use as a conclusion option or an assessment option. You see the different types of questions that you could use. Or we also have a multiple choice test bank if you wanted to just test through that method for students. Here's another way you could have students be assessed in their knowledge of savings. Instead of giving them a paper pencil test, why not have them write a letter indicating how they would help someone about saving and using a bank, and what type of savings tools they would use from a bank or a credit union or savings and loan. Here's information that we've compiled to give you for this activity that you would pass out, and they would, in essence, write an essay. Here's information that we've curated, and then here's a rubric to grade that. So you can see this is really and truly turnkey for students, for you to use with students. The very last thing on most lesson plans is the information sheet. I said that this mirrors what is in the PowerPoint. You can see this is pretty dense and heavily text as you view this. So you wouldn't want to give this to struggling readers. But if you have a group that doesn't include that challenge for reading, you could mix up your PowerPoint delivery and give an information sheet out to an individual or a group, and they could disseminate and learn to mark text and read text and really do the reading literacy skills to boost there. So that's what you find if you were going to our website and looking for a lesson that you knew was savings tools. Before we navigate over to the last half of our presentation tonight, if you notice over here, you could also just do a general search, not knowing what any of our titles are for lesson plans. And you can see that we break down. These are the 8 different units of study. Remember, we had that sequence that looked like an arrow. And then multiple units are our advanced learning tools listed in alphabetical order. So if you wanted to do financial statistics puzzles, you could browse through our active learning tools and find something that works for you as an activity, even if you're using another curriculum. Let's see, Intuit simulations. If you wanted to go directly to one of those simulations, we have a quick link for that. Standards, lesson plans, curriculum support, newsletters. We send out newsletters throughout the different times of the year. So you can always access those things. And that is really just how we look at our webpage and easy shortcuts for you. On our banners, we always announce, different things like we've updated our preparing, planning, and paying for higher ed lessons. There's 3 different lessons that have been recently updated with different scenarios and talking recent values for costs of going to college and so forth. Here's our blurb about our student workbooks being available to work with online. We have service learning projects. Some teachers want to engage with those kind of activities, and we have several suggestions tied to financial literacy. If you are an educator or know of someone who is interested in getting a master's degree focusing on economics and law, we do have a 1-year program. It can be extended out to more than 1 year, but it provides a lot of different ways to bring these thoughts into your own personal teaching practice, and of course, extend your own knowledge about these important topics. And we also have embarked in pulling together some brand new lessons on entrepreneurship. And we've got the 4 of those listed out on our website and make available to you now. Types of business ownership, principles of business and personal ethics, great for personal finance as well as business and entrepreneurship students. The role of social entrepreneurs and social responsibility, another perfect tie-in to personal finance and planned giving. Understanding consumers' decisions and markets. Well, of course, personal finance talks about consumer decision making. So many of these lessons that we're introducing new have ties to our I've lost my train of thought. Ties to our personal finance lessons. That's what I meant to say. All right. We do also have one of our lessons incorporates a chapter book, Lawn Boy by Gary Paulson, and we do have a library of those that we can loan out for 2 to 3 weeks to a teacher who wants to incorporate that into their class, and then you mail it back to us with a pre-printed form. We make it as easily as possible for you to take the students' learning on a different path. Okay, now back to our presentation. Tiffany, do we have any questions that have come up in the chat so far?
No questions yet.
Okay, great. Well, hopefully that showed you a little bit about our website, about our program, and how we work. Now, I just want to take you through a couple steps of one lesson in our curriculum at the advanced level, and it's called Major Expenditures. And you can probably tell from the icon, we're talking about things like transportation and housing, and we even incorporate food in there as well. This is a lesson that you wouldn't necessarily want to start with if you were doing a course sequence. But if you are, tied to one particular curriculum vendor that you like, but you want to add some other things in, why not try this or several others of our Take Charge Today lessons? Here on your left, you see our cover page for this particular lesson, the overview, why it's important, what teachers can do to make it come alive and jump off the pages instead of just reading and taking notes. What can students do? Things that are in this lesson, well, how about we suggest a class field trip to visit a property management company, talk to their manager, take a look around. What do you need to do to rent from a particular place? Having students look at a sample rental agreement and answering questions in pairs as though they were getting ready to do a checklist and go through a rental agreement. The true cost of owning a vehicle, planning a food budget for a college student. So these are things that we've incorporated into the lesson that we really feel strongly that students can benefit from. Remember those 5 elements. We're going to look at each one of these 5 elements through the eyes of this one lesson, Major Expenditures. So let's see what is a suggested hook. Aha! A game. Nothing better than a game to start things off. This is called Fly Swatters. And Fly Swatter Facts have you, the teacher, printing off some of the facts that will be revealed in the lesson. And you can use painter's tape or something else to create on the floor a starting line for students and their teams to line up behind. The teacher or the facilitator reads a question from the list of facts that are provided in this lesson, and the facts come from the lesson itself. And then the students in line competing against each other go up and swat against a wall or a blackboard or bulletin board or something, what they feel the fact is connected to that question. And you can keep team scores, and maybe the team that wins gets a pack of Smarties, each of them or something. In the lesson itself, this is what the Fly Swatter Facts setup looks like. Here's the questions the teachers read to the students. Here are the answers that you would print off and cut off. You see here, you would print this page off and you would cut this in 4 lines and then post it just like you've seen here on a flat surface. So that's how you would play Fly Swatter Facts, as a fun way to get students thinking about the costs and facts related to major expenditures. Teaching vocabulary, making it a way for students to engage with new language, new terms in vocabulary boosting activities. Here's one that we've selected for this. We have many different vocabulary activities we think of, but in small groups, they could easily create this list and have fun playing with each other, the game like you see here. Facilitating the content and all the facts and figures related to buying a car, buying a house, purchasing food. That is shared in this lesson. This lesson was just updated at the end of 2022 to reflect, sadly, the inflation that we've all been exposed to, but it is updated for all of us to use with our students. This is actually a copy of the slide that's in the lesson. Because this lesson is rather long, we suggest you break it up into 3 parts. Talk about housing, talk about transportation, talk about food, and not try to push this all out at once. Maybe break this up. A conclusion, that 4th element. How do you get them to remember what they've just learned? Well, one of the fun things is a musical chairs game. We have a Spotify playlist with more than 100 songs on it that you can easily tap into if you're a Spotify user. But you could, run yourself through any music that you wanted to use. Provide print version of the worksheets in this active learning tool. The students then, as the teacher runs and operates the music, kind of like a DJ at a party, the students would have a pen or a pencil, and they would walk around, and when the music stops, they sit down, and in front of them are the worksheets, and they write one answer to a question or one statement about a vocabulary term. As soon as they've written it down, they stand up. When the teacher sees that everyone has stood up, she's ready or he's ready to play the music again. The students walk around. When the music stops, you have to go to a chair or a place that has the worksheet, and you write down another answer to a question that hasn't been answered yet. So everyone's filling out the different worksheets. You're up and moving. You've got music going on. It's a win-win for any classroom. And, there's a teacher demo on our website for this particular activity. So you'd want to go ahead and watch that if you feel a little bit uncomfortable about doing it just from reading the instructions. Another conclusion activity, we have created our own online game for this particular lesson. It's called True or False. You could play that as a teacher if you have access to a screen, overhead projector type of thing for sharing this website, this link. And you could have students come up or just from their seats answer the questions. You could make it into teams, or you could provide it individually through the link, and the students can play at their own pace. Let me go here and show you real quickly what that might look like. If you clicked on the link, which is in the lesson plan, suggesting, hey, let's do a conclusion activity for after we've taught housing, transportation, and food. So we would start the slideshow. It's all pre-made for you. Here we go. Question 1, think to yourself, a housing rental agreement is a legally binding contract. Okay, students, you would ask them, do you think this is a true statement or a false statement? Let's say they go with true. Yep, it is true. A rental agreement is a legally binding contract. This is all things they've learned about in their lesson. You click the arrow back, it takes you to another question. You could go through these. I think there's 12 questions in this, or you could pick them randomly. True or false? You will pay more over the lifetime of a loan if you have a low interest rate. Let's go here. Yes, it is false. When borrowing money, always try to secure the lowest interest rate possible. So that's available to you, that we have tied to this lesson. Very easy to share a link or pull this up yourself to teach this to students and have that as a fun way to review at the end of this major expenditures lesson. Now, element 5 assessment. We offer multiple choice questions. We offer the reinforcement worksheet that you could use as a quiz or a test. But we also have created several different activities that you could use as a way to assess whether students understand, the importance of knowing what kind of apartment you want, what kind of car you want, eating on a budget, and how to stay on a budget. So let's take a look at some of these options for assessment. That rental agreement activity, small groups. You would be comparing rental agreements or contracts with a checkoff list, pre-made contract, checkoff list, answer key, all provided in the lesson itself. And as I said earlier, a really good reading literacy activity for analyzing content and on a contract. Purchasing an automobile, lots of fun. My students always enjoyed when we did this. And there are 6 different scenarios that teachers can use. You could either randomly assign these to students, or you could purposefully assign these to students. They are real life scenarios about people wanting to buy a car. There's one person who's very climate conscious and wants to get a hybrid. Another who is just starting a new business and needs a truck. Another who is a mom and dad of middle school age kids, and they're putting all the kids into a car to get them to all their practices. So these are not, buy your favorite Maserati that's out there on for sale on a lot. These are much more tailored to a purposeful experience for students with a decision-making matrix that gets them to think about, what can I give up? Opportunity costs, opportunity benefits. What can I afford? Because we give them a specific income level, and lots of fun things. Here's an external link that's located in that in this lesson. How fun is this? I wish I'd have had this when I was buying a car recently. How to read a car sticker. Whoops, I've hit in here so many times that I can't read. But in any case, you won't get that because you're not in there as much as I am. But it's an excellent article about walking through what you find and what it means on that car sticker that's sitting on that car that you might want to purchase. Another activity here has recently been updated to show and reveal inflated food costs, but we have fun way to put kids in small groups and use some weekly shopping food ad cards to set up a budget for Jolene, a college student who wants to budget $45 each week for food. She lives off campus, and the students have to decide how to help Jolene set up this budget. So we have things in the lesson plan and in the PowerPoint that shows, here's a picture of what's in Jolene's refrigerator. Everything from a banana and ketchup to 2 oranges and 3 eggs. And that's what she has. But she needs to get a few more things. So we have 2 or 3 pages of a weekly shopping food card. This comes directly from the lesson plan itself. This comes directly from the PowerPoint itself. And we do have vegetables on there. Robin worked very diligently to get the carrots and the green beans and the peppers and other things in there too. So it's a good blend of what a college student might want and need for a menu. The teacher would print these pages off. The students would have either access through a device, or you could print the page off and they would make the menu and they would line up, like you would print this off and cut each of these out so that the students could lay out a menu visually on a piece on their desks or tables and make these decisions. So it's kind of nice to have some things done without everything being digital. Okay, so that in a very quick way is the Take Charge Today mission and why we're here. We've been at the University of Arizona since, I believe, 2007, 2008, and a program that is free and allows educators and facilitators access to all of these lessons and answer keys and strategies and pedagogy ideas for bringing personal finance to students. So, Tiffany, do we have any questions from our chat?
We did have some questions, and I answered them as we went along, but I think it would be helpful to go through what people asked if they weren't following along directly in the chat.
Okay.
So the first question was about the course principles, and it was noted that that would be a good poster, and we do have it as a poster that you can download and take to a local printer or print on an 8x10, etc. And those, we just have a few, but that particular one can be found under the curriculum menu and then visual aids. And then the next question was, can you review the Mint activity? And I had let them know that Mint is a simulated environment that is a direct mirror of the real life Intuit Mint app and budgeting website that is for personal use, but they've gone and created a simulated environment so students can go in and practice looking at a budget and different parts of the Mint app using a fictional character. And then we've just suggested that in our conclusion options for several lessons, like the savings tools and income and expense, a few of those.
Great. Those are great questions too. And
we have a few more. Just a
couple.
Somebody asked about finding our Spotify playlist, and it is a little bit weird how they have you search for it. So I did put it in the chat, but you have to do a specific kind of search. But our account is called Take Charge Today, and we have each unit is outlined so that you can click on a specific unit and have songs that relate specifically to a certain unit.
Mm-hmm.
And then just to reiterate, the second part of Lisa's presentation was about our major expenditures lesson plan. And that is in our spending and borrowing unit. And I put the direct link, but you do have to have an account on the Take Charge website and be logged in to be able to download any of the material.
Great. Thank you, Tiffany. Those are excellent answers to all of those questions. Definitely, I love the questions, about Spotify and about, the major expenditures and all of them. So thank you for asking.
We had a few more questions come in too, Lisa.
Excellent. Okay.
Sandra says that she's been having trouble navigating between the different resources per lesson. Is there a page that has the links embedded for each activity option, or do we have to find the resources? Sandra, if you want to expand on that question, one quick response is that almost everything is directly in one lesson plan file. So if you just keep scrolling down that lesson plan file, you'll find the activity cards. Or the worksheet, if there is an active learning tool that we suggest in that lesson, that links to another page on the website. So that would be a separate thing to access. But everything is embedded. So if you open up the PDF file for a lesson plan, and the materials are listed at the top and you're looking at a worksheet, if you click on that worksheet, it just scrolls down within that lesson plan PDF to the appropriate page. So a lot of those files are directly in the lesson plan file, and some of the active learning tools, though, take you to another spot on the website.
Thank you, Tiff. Really appreciate that. These are the upcoming dates. We have 2 more left planned for this spring. In 2 weeks or so, we're going to be meeting and hosting Teaching Taxes with Take Charge Today. And Robin will be walking you through some of the different activities and ways to engage learners about the topic of taxes and how to ease teachers' feelings, which are sometimes palpable, about teaching this important topic and subject. And then we'll wrap it up with something at the end of March, if anyone's interested, or if you have colleagues who are business educators who might want to sit in on that, make a new Take Charge Today account and join us for that one. But we will send out some reminders and we'll take your feedback into place. All of those are set for a Wednesday at this same time, 6:30 on the East Coast, 3:30 on the West Coast. If you would like a certificate for attending this evening, today, we are happy to provide you with this. You would need to email us at takechargetoday@arizona.edu and let us know that you attended, and we can create this certificate to send to you digitally and hopefully help you with, continuing education that you might have to show your district and supervisors, etc. And well, thank you all for joining us. We really appreciate you taking time out of your very busy schedules. I know the life of a teacher, we all do, and we all can relate to all the different things you carry on your shoulders. So thank you for joining us. And by all means, anytime that you have suggestions for how to keep our Take Charge Today lessons and curriculum more responsive to your classroom needs as a teacher practitioner, please send us suggestions or comments through our email. We're happy to take those.